Hello there guys, it's LazyBeast here. Now, a big question that gets chucked around when a new expansion is upcoming is, will the expansion be alt friendly? Now ultimately, I think what alt friendliness is governed by is the systems of the expansion itself and how much time they take you to complete or be up to date with, and how much sort of maintenance they require. So for example, do you need to play as much as you can to gain Azerite power to power up your Heart of Azeroth, or do you need to run Torghast layer 9 6 times to be able to craft a legendary, stuff like that. So let's take a look at Dragonflight systems and see if Dragonflight is going to be alt friendly. So one of the first systems that you'll be introduced to is the dragon riding. Now with this comes the glyphs. So you'll need to go around and collect these to basically use as skill points to power up your dragon riding skills. Now the best thing with these is that they are all account bound, which is brilliant. I didn't think they would be, but they are. Now you can either collect these as you're leveling up and discover them naturally yourself and just use the achievement names to figure out roughly where they should be, or you can get them as soon as you get your first dragon riding mount to go and get your skills all learned as soon as possible. And you can use a guide, for example. Here's the one that I made, and you can find links out in the description if you do want to use that guide. But this is the first example of an alt friendly system, so you need to do this once on one character, and then the skill points are all there on any alt that you create in the future. So that's a nice little start there. So onto the next system, which is the Renown. So reputation isn't going to be the standard fill up the bar from friendly, honoured, revered, exalted. We're now going to have a Renown system. So instead of the traditional reputation system being used for the Dragonflight factions, Blizzard have expanded upon the Renown rep system that we saw in Shadowlands and improved on it. So it's quite a bit more in depth with tons more rewards that will come gradually along the way, all of which are either purely cosmetic or open world orientated, apart from some specific profession crafting recipes that crafters from certain professions will want to specifically target. But basically, for the average player, you'll gradually level up your Renown with the 4 factions as you go, and get moderate rewards along the way, with some quite big things like mounts to look forward to in the high Renown levels. Now, the best thing about this for any alts is that there's a Renown catch-up mechanism that will activate when you reach a certain Renown level on your main character. So the Renown catch-up buff works like this. When your main gets to Renown level 10 with a faction, any alts that you have that are below Renown level 10 with that given faction will receive a 100% bonus rep with the faction until they get to level 10. When your main gets to level 20 Renown with a faction, your alts will then receive a 200% bonus rep when they're below level 10, and then a 100% bonus rep that applies up until they reach level 20. So say for example you spend a good few weeks on your main initially in the expansion and you get your Renowns up to level 20 or above, then when you start an alt, they're going to absolutely fly through the early Renown levels and quite easily get up to level 20. These account-wide buffs will shave off an absolute ton of time and effort required to be able to get these alts Renown levels up. So although this is quite nice for things like unlocking the different armor style appearances, say you've got a warrior and you've got all your play appearances unlocked but you want to play your mage for example, then obviously you can go and earn the cloth appearances for things if you want to. That's just one example, but any players that have multiple alts with different professions, for example, that are looking to get recipes locked behind some of the higher Renown levels, they won't have to fully go through the Renown grind repeatedly, you know, as they did with the main for the first time. So that's a really nice change, as there are some quite good recipes, actually some very good recipes, locked behind the Renown system. So very nice changes there for reputation in Dragonflight, but unfortunately we still don't have any account-wide reputations going back from the vanilla reps up to the current stuff, but we can still hope and keep our fingers crossed, can't we? So another nice little change where gearing up and player para is concerned are the weekly vault changes. So you now need to complete less activities to earn the 3 tiers of rewards from the weekly vault. For example, the amount of raid bosses that you need for tiers has gone down, as well as Mythic Plus runs and honor gained in rated PvP. So if you're trying to fill vaults on multiple characters, you've basically got less work to do overall, which will save you a lot of time. Again, another nice simple change on Blizzard's end that was very easy to implement, I can imagine, that basically saves players so much time and increases the alt friendliness of the expansion overall. And while we're on the subject of gearing, let's talk about tier sets. So we do have tier sets from Season 1 Dragonflight going forward, so they basically work the same as they did with the Creation Catalyst from Shadowlands. So if you're familiar with that, it's basically the exact same system. So as we know with that system, we did have charges that built up over time that will work the same way now, but the way it works is you get a weekly quest to go and do group content. We're not exactly sure specifically what that is, but for example, the weekly quest could be something like go and complete 2 Mythic Plus dungeons, or go and kill 2 raid bosses, for example. Let's just say that's it. So once you complete that weekly quest in a given week, it will grant you a charge of the Catalyst, allowing you to create a tier set piece. So there's no new currency like Cosmic Flux that you need to go and farm, which is good to know. And the charges are independent to those characters, so basically if you get one charge on your main, that will grant all the ults on your account a charge, and also any ults that you still haven't even made yet. So you can use a charge on your main and create a tier set piece, and then go straight to your ult and create another tier set piece on that character when you complete this quest for the first time, for example. Now honestly, I think this is brilliant. It kind of stops you thinking things like, oh, I really should get that ult made and start gearing it so I don't fall behind on charges. So it stops you feeling like you have to get that ult leveled. You can just basically leave it until whenever you want and log into it whenever you create it, and you might have, say for example, 20 charges sat there, so you can create tier pieces all day long, if that's what you wanted to do. Again, another example where they've taken a system that they've used in the past, listened to feedback, and tweaked it accordingly to make things even more ult friendly. And then of course, if you're going to have an army of ults, you're going to need to level them all up, so let's talk about leveling. So it doesn't actually take that long to get from 70 from 60 for the first time that you enter the Dragon Isles. The average player is probably going to be able to complete their leveling in around 8 hours, give or take a couple of hours here and there. But for ults, they have even more freedom than they did in Shadowlands regarding on how you want to level. There's actually no Threads of Fate system like that we saw in Shadowlands. However, this time ults will be able to do the zones in any order that they like, and the campaign quests will still be available to them if they do want to do them, but they won't have to if they don't. You could choose to level an ult without doing barely any quests at all. For example, it's perfectly viable now to level mainly by professions if you wanted to. Herbalism and mining will still give XP when you loot a node, but now you also get XP for crafting an item for the first time, so it's quite a good chunk of XP as well. So you could easily stockpile a ton of materials on your main, send them to your ult, and then sit in the city and craft your way up the levels. It will take some good planning and a bit of materials and quite a lot of gold perhaps, but it is a viable option that can be really fast to do. But pretty much the best thing about this is that you've got the choice. If you want to just sit in dungeons and level, you can do that. If you want to do the campaign again and again, you can do that, that's fine. And if you're leveling an ult up from level 1 to 70, then you can enjoy the massively reduced XP that it takes you to get from 1 to 60, and also the changes to chromie time, so it's just so much easier to get ults up and running in a lot faster time. Okay, so in summary, the best thing about Dragonflight is that there are less systems overall, and the ones that do exist don't pressure you into feeling like you need to complete them or keep up with them in order to keep your character feeling strong, as a lot of the endgame content is optional. I've seen quotes from interviews with Blizzard employees where they do state that they have actually tried to make the expansion a lot more ult friendly this time round, and it does seem that looking at it from an early perspective, they have definitely made some improvements towards that goal. So let me know what you think in the comments, and thank you very much for watching this video. I do appreciate you giving me your time. If you've enjoyed this video, please do leave it a like and consider subscribing to the channel for more World of Warcraft content from me. Thanks for watching guys, I've been LazyBeast and I'll catch you next time. Cheers.